focus is on achieving a ceasefire as soon as possible and ultimately a permanent peace. My meeting with President Macron today was another important step forward in that sphere because he's been very much involved right from the beginning in trying to get it over with, and we're going to get it done. I believe that Emmanuel agrees with me on many of the most important issues. Chief among them is this is the right time. It may be the only time. You know, we're working on deals right now, transactions right now, and in particular, the big one is to get the war stopped, whether it's ceasefire or direct to an agreement.
I think it's good to have discussion. I think it's useful to have negotiation. I think it's super important to go to the peace. But my strong point was to say, let's try to get something first which can be assessed, checked and verified. And let's be sure that we build sufficient guarantees on the short run. And this is where we are ready to be engaged. As for France, a lot of my European colleagues are ready to be engaged. But we do need this American backup because this is part of the credibility of the security guarantees. And this is our collective deterrence capacity. Thank you.
Mr. President, thank you for the time.
We want peace. And I think the initiative of President Trump is a very positive one. Be careful, because we need something substantial for Ukraine, but for the security of Europe and France. And second, let's work together on the future to preserve security guarantees, meaning to be sure that this peace will be respected by Russia. First, to have a truce. I think it could be done in the weeks to come. During this period of time, we negotiate on security guarantees, land and territories, and it will be the responsibility of the Ukrainian president. Reconstruction. The US will have the deal on critical minerals and rare earths and so on.
Fine.
So we have to negotiate with the US, with the allies, with Ukraine, which type of security guarantee makes sense. It could be first, increase the capacities of Ukraine to maintain a strong army. We worked very hard together with the UK Prime Minister to have a French-UK proposal to say we are ready to send troops, not to go to the front line, not to go in confrontation, but to be in some locations, being defined by the treaty, as a presence to maintain this peace and our collective credibility with the US backup and the US backstop. We didn't tariff the US. We want to cut red tape for us as Europeans, and it will simplify the life of your companies, fine. But I think the solution in this very moment is not to increase tariffs. Why? Because the emergency is to increase our defense and security expenditures. I understood your priority is to put tariff on China because President Trump said they are unfair with us. Come on, you cannot have a trade war with China and Europe at the same time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We very much appreciate the attention. Today's a big day in that we had a G7 and President Macron is a very special man in my book. We were together, we did it together, and I think a lot of progress has been made. We've had some very good talks with Russia. We've had some very good talks with others, and we're trying to get the war ended. with Russia and Ukraine, and I think we've come a long way in a short period of weeks.
President, thank you. Thank you. No, thank you. I want to thank Mr. President for his hospitality. We had a good discussion this morning for the G7 here, and for the third year of this war in Ukraine, and I think our common objective clearly is to build peace, and a solid and long-standing peace.
Europe is loaning the money to Ukraine. They get their money back.
No, in fact, to be frank, we paid 60% of the total effort, and it was through, like the US, loans, guarantee, grants, and we provided real money, to be clear. We have 230 billion frozen assets in Europe, Russian assets, but this is not as a collateral of a loan, because this is not our belonging. So they are frozen. If at the end of the day, in the negotiation we will have with Russia, they're ready to give it to us, super. It will be loan at the end of the day, and Russia would have paid for that.
If you believe that, it's okay with me.
This week, we've shared this information with other European countries, and we are ready and willing to provide those security guarantees. President Trump, as he said, will be meeting with President
C'est un moment important de la discussion. On veut bâtir la paix en Ukraine, et le bilan qui a été rappelé, en réalité, il y a d'1 million de morts et de blessés depuis le début de ce conflit et de cette guerre d'agression. Notre volonté, c'est que cette paix dure, parce que nous avons déjà eu un cessez-le-feu et une paix qui n'a pas été respectée. C'était les accords de Minsk, 1 puis 2. Et donc le corps de cette discussion, c'est de s'assurer d'abord qu'il y ait un cessez-le-feu, ensuite que les Ukrainiens soient impliqués. Je pense que ce que vient de dire à l'instant le président Trump est très important, c'est-à-dire qu'il va rencontrer rapidement le président Zelensky pour signer cet accord sur les minerais critiques et les terres rares, et que c'est aussi un moyen d'avoir une implication américaine forte. Les Européens sont prêts à prendre leur charge sous des formes diverses, de soutien à l'armée ukrainienne, de présence y compris pour s'assurer que la paix soit durable, et l'implication dans la durée des États-Unis d'Amérique à travers cet accord est une bonne chose. Et donc tout est encore à construire, et je ne veux pas préempter les discussions. Mais nous partageons le même objectif, et ce qu'on a discuté ce matin pendant 1 heure après la visioconférence ensemble, et ce qu'on va continuer de travailler, et sont pour moi des bonnes avancées.
I have no idea what he's saying, but that is
You will translate.
elegant, beautiful language. Go ahead, please. So we were at the Eiffel Tower having dinner with your wonderful wife and with my wonderful wife, and we came out and he started speaking the French deal. And we didn't have an interpreter, and he was going on and on and on, and I was just nodding, yes, yes, yes. And he really sold me out, because I got back the next day and I read the papers. I said, that's not what we said. He's a smart customer, I will tell you that. Sure.
How will you
Exactly what we agreed.
Mr. President, Zelensky.
I mean, not soon, but I would be certainly, if this all gets settled out, which I think it will, sure, I would go.
On the 9th of
And
May?
he'd come here too.
On the 9th of May on the Red Square?
I don't know, the 9th of May, no, I think that's pretty soon. But no, at the appropriate time, I would go to Moscow.
When do you see the war will end?
I think we're working it soon.
How soon?
Within weeks.
Weeks?
Today on the major economic development transactions between the U.S. and Russia.
that the peace is respected. Our assistance may include other capacity building, perhaps for the military.
Yeah, he will accept that.
He will accept
I've
it.
asked him that question.
You talk to me?
I've asked him that question.
Russia is the one that pays everybody back. Are they aggressive?
It's just frozen assets now. You can take the proceeds of the frozen assets, but you cannot take the assets themselves, because it's not respecting international law, and we want to respect international
How is
law.
one different than the other? If you can take the proceeds from it, how can you not take
Because it's
the
very different. You keep the assets, you take the proceeds because they are paralyzed in a certain way, you take the proceeds during the wartime, but you keep the assets, and it's part of the negotiation at the end of the war. Because, I mean, this war costed all of us a lot of money. And this is the responsibility of Russia, because the aggressor is Russia.
Should US
So,
be compensated?
so at the end of the day, this frozen asset should be part of the negotiation. All in all.
Like the Europeans, I believe that taxpayers in the United States also. Our focus is on achieving a ceasefire as soon as possible and ultimately a permanent peace. My meeting with President Macron today was another important step forward in that sphere, because he's been very much involved right from the beginning in trying to get it over with, and we're going to get it done. I believe that Emmanuel agrees with me on many of the most important issues. Chief among them is this is the right time. It may be the only time, you know. Invite Emmanuel to say a few words.
I think it's good to have discussion. I think it's useful to have negotiation. I think it's super important to go to the peace. But my strong point was to say, let's try to get something first which can be assessed, checked and verified. And let's be sure that we build sufficient guarantees on the short run. And this is where we are ready to be engaged. As for France, a lot of my European colleagues are ready to be engaged. But we do need this American backup because this is part of the credibility of the security guarantees. And this is our collective deterrence capacity.
Nous voulons la paix. Cette paix ne peut pas signifier la capitulation de l'Ukraine. Cette paix ne peut pas être un cessez-le-feu sans garantie. Cette paix doit prévoir les conditions d'une souveraineté ukrainienne, permettre à l'Ukraine de négocier avec les parties prenantes toutes les questions qui la touchent et pour laquelle elle est seule légitime à négocier. Mais c'est une paix dans laquelle nous devons prendre nos responsabilités pour maintenir dans la durée sécurité et stabilité pour l'Ukraine et pour toute la région. Et pour nous, Européens, c'est une question existentielle.